here from Nelson Soapery. Let's get into a video all about making something new. So I formulated this little recipe, and it is going to be a recipe on some moisturising scrub. So it's not like your normal scrub that will just have sugar and so on put in it. We're also going to pop in some shea butter, which will leave that beautiful slick moisture on your skin afterwards, as well as some jojoba oils. And we're going to make it a little bit fun by making it blue with some bubble gum scent in this one, which is going to be amazing. I get asked for bubble gum all the time, and this one that I use is just gorgeous. So anyway, let's get going. We need to sanitize everything and get it all organized, ready for this fun experiment. Let's go. So now to organize everything and get it all ready to start, we need our jars. So here I do have some little jars just set aside, and I've already sanitized those jars, as well as a glass jar, which I'm going to be popping in my shea butter and my whip, and the end of, which is this little one here, which I won't touch because I don't have gloves on, but this one here is just the tip that I'm going to be using in the piping bag. You don't have to pipe it, you could just pop it straight inside, but piping it always makes it look a bit nice. Of course, you do need some gloves to do this as well. And I also have this sweet little blue kind of mica here. You don't need to worry too much about the mica because we are putting a soapy product in it, so that will disperse all the mica and make it all gorgeous anyway. And we're only going to use the smallest amount. So inside my container here, I have already put some things in here. So this is my container that's been sanitized, and the white cream that you can see in here, this is actually a whipped soap. So we're going to start with 500 grams of whipped soap. So let's put this on the mixer. We'll start mixing it, and then we're going to organize all of our other ingredients and add them in. So now that we do have our whipped soap set aside, and we're going to mix that in a minute, before we do that, in this little jar here, we need to organize our shea butter. So in here, I'm going to be adding 60 grams of shea butter. So let me just pop that in here. Make sure all of your jars have been sanitized as well, and that you're tearing out your scale. So the only thing you're going to see on this is the materials weighing up, not the jar, because we don't want to have the jar on there. So now we've got that in there, and this is going to be adding a really beautiful mix to this. So, and of course, we're going to be adding this in with the whipped soap after we've mixed the whipped soap, because that way this will make a really, really beautiful creamy consistency of not just the soap, but also this gorgeous shea. So let's get going and we'll mix it up. So inside my container, I do have my whipped soap that we already measured up before. So now on here, we are just going to be adding in the whip. And this whip here, I have already sprayed this with rubbing alcohol and rubbed it down to make sure it's all beautiful. So all we're going to do is turn this on. We'll just let this whip it up just a tiny bit because we want this to get gorgeous. Don't do this more than a minute, otherwise it can turn this into a liquid, and we definitely don't want that. Once this is all mixed up, then we are going to be adding in a gorgeous shea. So let's just mix this up and get going. So now that we have mixed that up, we are going to be adding in some jojoba oil. So I'm going to be adding in 1.5 tablespoons of this gorgeous oil. I really, really love it. It's my favorite oil that I use. I know it's expensive, but it will be a beautiful skin loving project. So now that that's in there, we're just going to turn this back on, and then we're going to be adding in our shea butter in just a moment. So let's just turn this on, only for a moment. So now that was super quick. It wasn't on for very long at all. But before we get to the next bit, we may just add in our fragrance oil. So the fragrance oil I'm going to be using is a gorgeous bubble gum. So in here, I'm just going to be adding in 1 tablespoon. Remember, when this is going on someone's body, they don't want to smell like a big lolly shop. So I definitely wouldn't be adding too much of bubble gum or something like that. Make sure you pop on all the lids, and I'm going to add in a little bit of the blue mica. You can add as much or as little as you want. Probably 1/8 of a tablespoon is more than enough. So this is all I'm going to be adding in, just that tiny little bit in there. And if you feel like it's not blue enough, you can add more, but I definitely wouldn't add too much to this, and we'll just mix it up now. And if you can see that fun blue, that is definitely gorgeous and very bubblegummy. So now we've done that, we're going to add in our shea butter. So let me just open this up. And I know this is not totally mixed, but it doesn't matter yet. We'll mix that in a moment. So remember, we have already got our shea butter, so we're just going to pop that inside. Now we're going to turn this in because we want to turn it back on, because we want everything to combine together. So let's just turn it back on. Now do remember, we are working with whipped soap, so we don't want the whipped soap to turn back into liquid, which it definitely can if we mix too much. So you need to be a bit careful when we're mixing it. So I'm just going to get around the sides just to sort of push everything down to the bottom so that we can mix all of it together again. And the one thing that I definitely notice when I'm working with whipped soap is it can be so messy and sticky, but you know, it needs to be done, doesn't it? It needs to be mixed. So anyway, we've got that bit there. So let's go and we will pre-mix this again. And I have messed up my little things, haven't I? Anyway, but anyway, that's fine. Let's go. All right, this is looking beautiful, but of course now we need to add the scrub. So we want to just add the sugar. So let me grab that. So I'm going to be adding in 70 grams of sugar. This is just raw sugar. It's really, really lovely raw organic sugar. So that's what I'm going to pop in here. I wouldn't use caster sugar or white sugar because it just kind of doesn't look great. Once you actually add the raw sugar like this, it gives it a really nice kind of grainy look as well. You can also add some kaolin clay or pink clay. I'm just going to add 1 tablespoon of some kaolin clay. And it's definitely only 1 tablespoon because the one I've got in my hand is a half tablespoon. So let's get going. We'll mix it up and then we're almost done. Now I have to show you how gorgeous this actually looks. So if you can imagine, we'll have to whip it a little bit more, but I mean, look how beautiful that looks. It's got a really gorgeous grainy you know, kind of look to it as well. I'll move the camera back a tiny bit so that we can actually see it better, but it's just really, really gorgeous. So we will mix this, scrape it down, and then we're going to be popping it in to the container. So I'll bring you back when we're up to that step. So now to start with this bit, what we're going to be doing is just putting down your wrap down here. And this is just so that it doesn't become too messy. You don't need to do this step, but this is what I actually like to do because it makes it so much easier. So then all we're going to do is just pop it down onto here. And you can use as many as you want or as little as you want. Don't fill it up too much, otherwise it will literally just come out of the top and then it's a bit messy, isn't it? And just very annoying to try and do it. So we've got that bit in there. So now we're just going to be turning over our plastic wrap just like that. Twist the sides of it so it's like that, and then literally you're going to cut off the side, which is nice and easy. And remember, we do have our little tip, which is here. This is the one we're going to be using today. Hopefully you can see that. And like I said, you know, this is all good. So now we just get the scissors, cut the end off, because then this bit's going to go into the bag first, which will release through here. So let me get the piping bag. So I've already got this little piping bag. I buy mine on a roll from a company called My Dream Cakes. And they pretty much have everything. There's another one in Queensland called Paradise Cakes as well. They're pretty good too. I used to buy from them, but obviously Been in Melbourne. Dream Cakes is in Melbourne. That's pretty close to where I live, so it's nice and easy. Make sure you push it out and that the plastic doesn't cover the ends of the spikes, otherwise it won't make it look very pretty. And like I said, then we're just going to be getting this and just popping it inside the plastic bag, and look how much easier that is. So now you can see it's in here. Just push it till it goes to the end, and you'll be able to see it slowly come out of the end. And there you go, it's ready. So now we're just going to be getting this and piping in here. But before we do this, we want to put this on the scale so we know exactly what's going to happen. So let's go over to the scale. We'll put this on and tear it out. So we're over to the scale now, and this is how I do all of mine. I put the container on here, I tear it out. So we're just going to tear out my scale that says 0. So that means it's not accounting for the plastic. And that way you'll know exactly what you put in there is what you are actually selling to your customer. So it's as easy as that. So we're just going to swirl it in here. I like mine to be around about 100 grams, but do remember we are using a sugar scrub, so the sugar makes it heavier. So we're probably going to get more than that in. If I did this in a whip soap, I'd only get 100. But this one is probably going to be, well, that's 126. I'm just going to take it off, or we'll just tap it down, because remember it's all going to be tapped down in a minute. So we may just get a little bit more. So that's 130, which I think is pretty good. I'm going to just tap it on the ground, on the bench, I mean. Because remember, we want the lid to go on, and you don't want the lid to squash. If the lid squashes, it's very annoying, because, you know, all the stuff can come out the top. So I think if we do this, that's 140, what's in there now, which is probably perfect. So I know it doesn't look very pretty, but I've just done it for the purpose to show you. And then, of course, I will actually put the lid on. So we'll pop that one aside. So we know we're doing these at 130. So let me do this one. I always do one that looks really nice, because you want this one for your photos. You definitely want a good one for photos as well. And you can just do that bit there, and then we'll tap it down so that it's as flat as we want, because we want it to look, you know, really nice for our photos and give it a little bit of a peek. And that's what it's going to look like. But I mean, that's not a beautiful photo, is it? So I'll do a better one than that. But as you can see, I mean, look how pretty it is. The colors and everything are so nice. And if you pipe it, that's what you sort of get, is that rippled look where the air sits in the middle of it. And honestly, it smells so gorgeous, because it really is this just beautiful kind of divine soap, you know, and that really gorgeous 1980s sort of bubblegum scent, which is very popular. I did actually do a lot of candles and send them to France at one stage in this bubblegum, because they just loved it over there. So anyway, let's get going, and I will just do the rest. Try and squeeze as much as you can out of the bag, because remember, we're going to take the insert out. So I'm going to leave that one there for a minute so I can fill up the next bit, but I will show you what I actually do from here. So look how gorgeous these ones are looking now. We have definitely finished them all off. We're just going to pop on the lid, so it doesn't matter if they're not too perfect at the top, because the lid is going to squash that down as well. But you always want to keep one, you know, for your photos and for your social media, and also, you know, obviously for your website. If you're selling this on your website, there is a little bit extra left over, which is in this little container here. You know, there's probably about 90 grams in there. If you have any left over, you could usually do, you know, like some little baby sample pots, or give it to somebody else. But usually my daughters will use this, and we'll all try it out to make sure it's good. We always try a little bit of each batch just to make sure they're good to go, and that, you know, we feel that they you know, ready to go out, because everything does get tested that I actually make and sell. So from here, you know, like I said, it's absolutely beautiful. I hope this recipe has helped any of you out. If anybody from here would love to join my Patreon, just go over there and you can join that. Sometimes I have a little extra thing on there, but it's more about business and learning all about, you know, how to grow as a business, as a soap, candle, and obviously bath bomb type company. And I'll just give you lots of tricks that I've done, along with some worksheets and some extra things in case anybody wants to go over there and join our Patreon. And I will have a few little recipes over there. And usually when it comes on YouTube, they will get the recipes first and then you guys will get it. But once again, as I always say, this channel is for everyone. You do not need to be on Patreon if you don't want to. But if you want to support me and go over there, then just go over there. It's nice and easy. The link is in the top of my YouTube channel. So you can easily just click on that. It will take you over and explain everything on there. Anyway, hope to see you there, and I will see you on the next video. Bye, everyone.